from so when did I first kind of get involved in computer games? To go right back, I'm talking probably, blimey, let me think. When did Pong come out? Yeah. I'm that old. Probably, I don't know, 1977. I remember going to the airport. Now this was a time when going to the airport to watch the planes land was like a treat. That's what we did on a Friday night. Oh, do you want to go and watch the planes land? And we'll go and get a bag of chips. So we went to Edinburgh Airport, and I remember he went up through the terminal, and I saw this thing. And I went, what's that? And I went up and looked at it, and it was a Pong machine. And I didn't really. I just looked at it, and that was it. I didn't really think any more about it. And then I'm trying to get trying to get the timelines right. And then fast forward to probably 1978, 1979, I had just taken up judo at a local sports centre, and I went into the judo. I went through the rotating doors, and I just heard, this kind of kerfuffling in the corner, and I looked across, and there's a big group of people, like crowded round what looked like a kind of wardrobe type affair. And as I approached it, obviously I saw the decals of this thing. And I somehow managed to kind of push my way through the crowd, and obviously you could just hear the ominous thump, 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 and it was Space Invaders. I'm like, what is that? And you could see these Space Invaders, but you could see through them, and I was just absolutely captivated. And then obviously shortly after that, I think at that point, I mean, computers weren't really a thing at that point. You went into like John Menzies, W.H. Smith, and you had these plethoras of little sort of Space Invader machines, LED, and I've got one of them. I got a real crappy one. I've still got it actually over there. So that was our Space Invaders. It was a pale imitation compared to the proper thing. And then of course Atari 2600 came along. And I think it was £99.99, advertised by Kenny Everett. You'll probably remember that. He advertised Space Invaders. And, Mum, can I get an Atari 2600? No, we can't afford it. And that was it. And so I never ever asked for it. But for quite a few years, I just used to think about this space. I used to think about what it would be like to own an Atari 2600, but it never happened. And then my granny, funnily enough, bought a TV game, a Binatone TV game, and I went to see her, and she said, go and ask your granddad to go and let you see what he's got. And he brought this, bright orange console thing, plugged it into the TV, and we started playing Pong. And then she goes, do you want to take it home with you? Oh, great. So that was it. So I owned a Binatone, and I have to say, even back in, I don't know when it would be, 1979 or something, I got bored of it very, very quickly, because I mean the only game you could play on your own was tennis.
Yeah.
And you could change the angle and the speed, and that was it. So very quickly I realised, this is pretty boring, and I ended up switching the. If I switched it on and off fast enough, you would kind of almost crash the machine, and you got what looked like a kind of scrolling road. And you got like the lines coming down it, and I actually thought I used to do that deliberately just to have a look at this, and it looked like a driving game on my TV, and I'm like, whoa!
Is that the first hack you ever did?
That was the first hack, yep. So that was that, and then I says, I went through. I had a number of the LED things, including the Astro Wars, which I have to say was a fantastic machine. But even the sort of the 10-year-old Mamemeister, it was pretty limited. It wasn't. You wanted it to be Galaxian, but it wasn't Galaxian. And then obviously started going on holiday. I mean, my mum and dad were never fans of like Blackpool or anything. So my only exposure to kind of arcade games was when we'd go down. We used to go camping down to Essex, of all places, and we would go into I presume it must have been the M6 services, M1 services, and there was always a couple of arcade machines, and I'd maybe get 10 pence. And that was it. And then fast forward to when would it be? 1982, I think it was. I got what was it called? It was called the Home Computer Course, which was one of these monthly magazines. Okay. And the very first issue, it was a bizarre thing. The first issue was issue 1 and 2, but it was just a single magazine. But they said you were getting like buy one get one free. It was like issue 1 and 2 and 1. And in the centre pages of this, they had about I don't know, 20 different computers. This was before. Nowadays we've got the Xbox and the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Back then you had, I mean, the Tandy, you had the Dragon, you had the Atari 400, the Atari 800, you had the New Brain, you had the Lynx, you had the C64, the VIC-20, you had all these machines, and it had pluses, cons, and pros, and it was like, you know, fast, slow, basic, da 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 da. And I went through them all, and I thought, well, the Commodore 64 looks great, but you know, price £350, so I wasn't going to get that. And so my mum and dad eventually decided, right, we'll get you a computer. I think it was for my birthday or something. So I don't know why I didn't go with them, but they decided they were going to go to. Do you remember Comet?
Comet, yeah.
Comet. We went to Comet, and I said, "Can I maybe get this one?" And it was like, I think it was a 16K Spectrum, and they came back with the Texas TI 1994A, which looked lovely, and I had one game for it, which was. It was less than good, shall we say. It was a mail order job, and it was typed up in BASIC. I had that for a couple of months, and then I got a part-time job and got a C64, and that was when I fell in love with video games.
The C64 changes your perception of everything.
Yeah. And the rest, as I say, is history.
It's funny because I think, and same, and I've said this to a few other people when I've been chatting to them, was my mum and dad was exactly the same. I'd loved the Commodore 64, but because of the price, they went out to get as a computer, and they came back with a Toshiba MSX because they were £99. And don't get me wrong, it was a good machine, but they tried to get games for it. It was absolutely impossible because even on the market stalls and in the like you say WH Smiths, it was always C64, Spectrum, and a few Acorn Electrons over here. You know what I mean? There were never no MSX titles in there, so.
And that was a deal breaker, you know. Let's be honest, you wanted it for games. There was only so many games that you could type in out of CNVG. You wanted the software, and you know, unfortunately, Texas was one of the worst choices you could have made.
Did I get it? Because that was. Did you get that from? Oh, you said Comet, weren't you? Because Tandy's used to do those.
It was Comet. They got it from. Yeah. I can't even remember. And this is a thing I talk about quite a lot. You know, when you think about, oh, why didn't you get this? Why didn't you get that? Or why did you sell your C64? I says, I sold my C64 because I wanted a better computer. Yeah. And the only way to do that was to sell your existing system. There was nobody rich enough that could say, I'll hang on to my C64 and I'll buy an Amiga. You had to sell. You had to sell what you had to then get something, and then sell that to get something else. So it was like a trade-in. You're always having to trade in.
It was, well, it's no different to buying a house, really, is it? You don't buy one house, keep it, and buy another one. You trade it in to buy a better one or whatever.
That's it.
But it was same with computers, exactly. You think, oh, I wish I'd have kept it, but like you say, you probably sold your C64 to get the Amiga to get the PC, or whatever way you went, and it like sort of went from there.
And this is the thing. I mean, you know, looking a 53-year-old head and think, why would I have got rid of the C64? I mean, I love my C64. I do play it quite a bit. But back in whenever it be, I don't know, in 1987. The Atari ST started, all these images, screenshots of Atari ST games started popping up, and it's like, wow, look at this. And when I thought, right, how can I buy an Atari ST? And there was a local shop, and you could buy it. I don't know how much it was, £300, which was a lot of money back then. And the only way to do it was to sell my C64, and then I had to pay it up over about a year or something. And Back in 1987, I had no concerns about getting rid of the C64, because as far as I was concerned, I was getting rid of this thing that, it was good, but this thing's better. Yeah. Why would I want to hang on to this? Looking back 30 years on, it's easy to say, well, why did you get rid of the C64? I got rid of it because at that point in time, the C64 was inferior to the machine that I was going to buy.
Well, it's interesting because when you look now, and obviously retro started, but when you had the Atari ST, would you even class the C64 as retro based on today's what is retro arguments? Because it's not old enough.
I don't even. No, absolutely not. I mean, I don't even. I don't even. I know this is ridiculous. I think the PlayStation Dreamcast about the most retro I talk about. Anything after that is kind of current to me.
Yeah, same with it. I think it's
The
just
thing is,
because
the
we're
older you,
old.
as the older, yeah, that's a smaller timeline. So I mean, I talk about the PlayStation 3 as like modern consoles.
Yeah, and I think as well. I don't know if you agree, but back then, because I always feel privileged to have lived through that time because there was nothing prior to it to see. But if you're born today, obviously you're born into it because there's
Yeah,
a history behind it and you're moving forwards with it. That's obvious. But when we were that age, it was the start of it. It was the beginning. There wasn't anything before it. You know what I mean? And then you sort of grew up with it, like you say. So moving from a C64 to an Atari ST was quite a massive jump because they were
yep.
worlds apart in reality, weren't
Certainly not in sound, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I
they?
mean, you look at some of the games that were on the C64, are blocky looking, and then you go to the Atari ST, and I don't know if you're familiar with like Psygnosis Barbarian.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely god awful game, but you've got this opening scene. It shows you this kind of dragon, like someone like out the Hobbit, this red dragon against the gold. I mean, that was just, you couldn't physically get something like that in the C64, and to look at that, you go, my goodness, I've just got a computer that's got the ability to display that. It was like, wow, but I have to say, when I did get the Atari ST and I switched it on, and then I heard the sound, I'm like, the sound's rubbish. And I kind of felt like I'd gone backwards a wee bit.
It is quite funny because it's a running joke with me and my friend. If I'm streaming Atari ST, and I know what he's going to put, he will put, do you know that's got the same sound chip as the 128K Spectrum? And I go, no, I've never heard of that before. And I do know, I'm just joking, but it's a running joke. It's a shame because I don't know why, unless it was down to cost or whatever, but I don't know why they would do that.
I don't know. I'm sure somebody probably knows. I think it was. I think it was probably. I don't know. I'm guessing it was probably twofold. Partly, it's probably mainly cost. I think they wanted to. Jack Tramiel wanted to have the ST at a price point that people could afford because what was it he said? Computer for the masses and not the something else. I can't remember what the phrase was, but anyway. Whereas the Amiga, obviously, it's
sorry.
That's it. I mean the Commodore Amiga was its direct sort of adversary, but that was like, I don't know, £500. So they wanted to put it on a price point that was going to thing me. But I think as well as they wanted to get it out quick, I think they wanted to try and get it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was obviously it was quite successful until the Amiga eventually got a foothold, and then they brought out a kind of gift pack, whatever, and then eventually the Atari ST just kind of fell away, which was quite sad. But I always look upon both these machines as they're almost identical, except the Amiga is a bit better. So why would you want to have an ST if you can get an Amiga?
Yeah, I'm surprised you went from the 64 to the ST. Because was it because the Amiga wasn't out at that time or was it just because it was more expensive?
Yeah, I mean, I got the ST in, I think it was 19. I think it was mid 88. It was 87, 88. I can't remember exactly when it was. And it was just because it was affordable. I mean, I think at that point, I don't think the Amiga 500 was out. It was Amiga 1000, I think, which was about £1,000. I mean, it was just like a year's salary. But as soon as that fell in price, I was away along to the traded it in and then did the same thing again. Handed in the Amiga, handed in the ST, and had to take out credit for to pay it up.
Yeah, because it was that because the Amiga came out. It was more like a mini PC, weren't it, with a base unit, the 1000, so it wasn't an all-in-one unit like the 500 was. And I think you were spot on what you say. The minute the Amiga sort of became a viable purchase was when they started to do bundles like the backpack and Flight of Fantasy pack and all them.
And then what was the god awful one? It had Days of Thunder. It also had, what was that Clive Barker program? It was terrible games. What was it called again?
Screen Gems.
Oh, Screen Gems, was it? Yeah, I think that was awful. I don't think there was a single good game in there, was there?
It's funny because
what were they thinking?
Yeah, I was talking to on a retro tip yesterday. and that was his first
Oh yeah.
pack, and he was saying he was talking exactly the same, saying it was probably the worst pack with Days of Thunder and the Clive Barker one. I forgot what it was called now. Is it, not Alien Breed, is it? That's the other one. Yeah, I know which one you mean. On the cover, it had like a man
We
with
know,
like
we know. I can see the picture.
yeah. We're getting old. His brains don't work anymore. So obviously you went on to the Amiga. Did you then go on? Because I always think there's two routes. People either went on to the PC and sort of went that way, or they went on to the consoles and went that way. Did you go more the console route, or?
No, I didn't. I mean, I had the Amiga. I'm trying to think. I got the Amiga probably mid '88, and then I had it until about. I'm trying to think. 93ish, 94ish, something like that. Again, it was at that point I got married. I was married, and money was really tight. In fact, you know what? I couldn't. I was thinking about that not that long ago. There was actually a point when I first got married. I had the Commodore Amiga, and we needed money, and I sold it. And for quite a while, I didn't have a computer. I can't believe that I actually didn't have anything. And then I remember getting I got the Game Boy, and that was my only kind of gaming thing for a wee while. But no, I mean at that point I had the Amiga. Obviously, you could get discs. You could go to the local market, and me and my mate would go along with like 30 quid each, and you come back with like 30 new games and copying them and all this. So I used to buy, even though I didn't have any of the consoles. I did buy. I did buy a SNES. I don't know where I got the money from. I think I sold my Game Boy, and I got the Mario All Stars pack. And this is a little anecdote. I remember going into, what was it called? It was one of these. What was it called again? It was later. It became. Is it Maplin? You go in electronics. I can't remember what it was called again. But anyway, they had it, and I went in, and the guy says, "Oh, can I help you, mate?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm looking for one of these Sega Nintendo things." Well, what? I was embarrassed because I was like a grown man going in to buy a Super Mario All Stars pack. So I told a lie. I said I was buying it from my nephew, who I didn't even have, just because I was embarrassed. So I bought this SNES pack, and I had it for a very, very short time because, again, money was pretty tight. I think at that point, me and the missus were like £10 pocket money a month. So it was either like a couple of new games from Amiga, or I had to forego buying anything for like about 3 or 4 months, and then I'd get enough money to buy a SNES cartridge. So the SNES eventually disappeared. I don't know what happened to it. So I had the Amiga up till about 94, 95, and then my mate phoned me one day and he says, "Oh, I've just got a PC." I said, "All right." Thing is, I was aware of PCs because another mate had a PC, and I used to go up to his house, and I can't even remember what games we'd play. They were, as far as I was concerned. I mean, he had a real computer, a PC, it was a proper PC, but the games were rubbish compared to what I was playing on my Amiga. And I remember taking along, recorded on an audio tape, Jesus on Knees.
Oh, right,
which is an absolute stonking demo. I mean, even now it's still impressive. But back in 1994, that was like, wow. And I remember showing him this, and he was like, "Oh, that's incredible." But the other mate, he says, I've got a PC. You need to come up and see it." And I went up, and Doom was running. And the second I saw the Doom, I thought, I need to get a PC. And that was it. That was it. Yeah, I sold my Amiga. I don't know how I managed to get the money together. I sold it, and I bought a Pentium 60. And that was it. And that was me for about, until about, I don't know, 2002, something like that, possibly. That was the only machine I had. And then I started kind of collecting machines. At that point, I realised that there was a second-hand market, and obviously you can accumulate quite a large collection of machines for not a lot of money. Not like now, obviously. You sell a kidney and sell your granny to get one.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think it's got to the point now where retro is the buzzword, and the problem is when it becomes that buzzword in mainstream, everything goes up in price because everybody's looking for it. You can't go to
Yeah.
Boots anymore or charity shops and pick any bargains up unless you're really lucky. Everything's priced at the price to sell, like it is going to sell on like eBay or something, and so I don't know. It's not spoilt it, I suppose, but it's just made it harder to get things.
It has, and I'm as much as I love the hobby. I really do love the hobby. I don't really regard myself as mainstream. I don't really get involved in a lot of the sort of current sort of retro stuff. I don't know. I just like to do my own thing, you know. But it's a wonderful hobby, absolutely for sure.
I can see in the background you've got a Vectrex machine.
Yes, one of three of them.
Oh, three of them. Do you like the Vectrex then?
I love the Vectrex. It's my. I mean, it's if I could, you know, don't know if you're going to ask this, but if I was getting put in a desert island, what would be the machine that you would take? It wouldn't be the Vectrex because it would probably end up breaking pretty quick. But have you tried the Vectrex? Have you played one?
I've played. My friend had one at the time, but I've not played one for a long time. It's funny. I did a stream the other week. So what I do is I do a stream every now and again where I play a system that I've never played before. I did the Vectrex one. Now, obviously, it's not as good as the original thing, but even on the emulation, I was just surprised at how good the games were and how clear, and it just blew my mind. If I'd have got one of those back in the day, I'd have been well chuffed.
Aye, I remember seeing it back in 1982 or something. Going into well, it was called Woolco, which was like it was Woolworths, but it was like the superstore version. And you know, you had the Atari 2600 and you had the ColecoVision. It was always playing Donkey Kong, and then it had this thing called the Vectrex, and it was standing on its own kind of blue stand. And I remember kind of just sort of looking at it, and I didn't quite know what it was. I didn't really know what to make of it. And the funny thing is, I mean, if you buy any game on eBay now for it, I mean, I've got about 12 or something box games. You know, I mean, I got some fairly recently, and it's like, you know, £40 for a game, and it's got like Woolworths £2.50. They literally couldn't give them away back then.
Yeah. It's that thing that what we used to go in, especially with stuff that didn't really sell well, and they'd have them in bargain buckets and basements. I wish you could go back in the time machine and grab all the games for it.
Just hoover them up. Yep, that'll do my inheritance, but or my retirement. But yeah, I mean the thing about the Vectrex, it is like no other machine. You've never played, you know, unless you've played obviously Asteroids or something. It's beautiful. Vector graphics don't age. It's, you know, it's just that, and some of the games that have come out fairly recently. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with what was it, Protector, which is like Defender, and it's one of the best Defenders you'll ever play in it. The same guy, a guy called Sean Kelly, he did Space Invaders, or he called it Not Another Space Invaders, or was it Yes Another Space Invaders? Yeah, it's Yes Another Space Invaders. Yasi, it's called. And to see this running, you would think that looks identical to the arcade. I mean, he's managed to get vector graphics to look like whatever they're called. I don't know what they're called. The old style kind of pixels. Sprites. Just amazing. But some of the new games that are coming out now, they're I mean, my favourite game for it's probably what you call it, Vector Pilot, which is Time Pilot, and it's just phenomenal.
Yeah,
absolutely phenomenal. And of course now there's a cartridge that's come out, and some clever people have managed to get like the Star Wars ROMs running on it, so you can kind of play Star Wars on it, you know. But it's such a unique thing. And I was very lucky. I picked up my first one. I picked up maybe 10 years ago. I think I got it for 80 quid. I think it was 11 games. And then I got the chance of a second one. It was about 90 quid a couple of years ago, and I thought, oh, I'll have that. And then one locally came up, and it was 100 quid, and it had like 6 games, and I thought, I'll have that. But it didn't work. But one of my friends has actually fixed it for me. He's recapped it, and I'm just waiting to get it back. So I've not got 3 because I'm greedy. I've just because like, wow. But I probably will. It's one system that I will always have 2, because I'm conscious that if it stops working, I'm like a baboon with boxing gloves. I can't do anything. Like, I can't weld or solder or anything at all. I've got to rely on other people to do that. But I always want to have a spare. But I'm a great believer in thinking, don't hoard the machines, because things like that, there's not that many out there. So it's only right that you can pass the goodness on, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
So,
well,
yeah.
I'm quite happy to give you 20 quid for one if you've got too many.
I'll come back to you, yeah.
It is. I remember seeing Pole Position. Is it the driving vector game? And
that's an excellent version.
Just the speed of how it moves and the crispness, and it just looked really good. I'd never seen it until quite recently, and I was just gobsmacked at how good it looked.
It's a very playable version. It seemed like Scramble. Scramble's fantastic. Berserk's really good as well. You know, it's a shame it never really took off, but
don't you find that that's very much like a lot of the systems that don't become mainstream? They've got good games for them. I mean, my friend's got a 3DO, and I think Need for Speed on that is probably the best version of all of them. I love playing it on 3DO. But obviously it didn't take. I know it was quite expensive, so that's probably one of the reasons. But it just fascinates me how. Same with the Dreamcast. I know it did sell, but to me the Dreamcast was one of the best systems Sega probably ever made. But obviously it died. So
yeah, it died early. Yeah, PlayStation came along. I don't know. I think was the PlayStation not better, more adept at kind of 3D games, and back then. I mean, I think that the what do you call it, the Dreamcast. And the Sega Saturn, I think as well, they were more adept at doing the sort of two-dimensional fighting games. Excuse me, back in 1995, 1996, people wanted Wipeout, they wanted Ridge Racer, they didn't want to play Street Fighter, Strike 2, whatever the hell it's called. And obviously they did kind of die a death. But I mean, it's testament to the fact that I never had a Saturn or a Dreamcast back in the day. I had a PlayStation 2. Well, my PlayStation has never come out the cupboard in 3 years, and I've got my Saturn, my Dreamcast sitting there, and I play them all the time. It's absolutely brilliant, fantastic machines. They really are.
I think what drew me to those machines was obviously the fact that there were a lot in them days Sega games in the arcades. So it was just like Sega.
Yeah.
And I know what you're saying about the PlayStation as well, because seeing Ridge Racer at my friend's house, he had a Japanese import, and I can still remember it as clear as day, and it was like, you just look at it and it blew your mind that you could play that game at home. So obviously you've got a YouTube channel that you post on. How did you get into YouTube? How did that start?
YouTube, like probably most people, I always thought of YouTube as just being. I was never aware of like channels as being a thing. It was just like a place you went and you could watch a guy falling off a skateboard or watching a cat dance, whatever. And how did it come about? Yeah, I'm lucky enough. One of my mates started up a computer club about 6 years ago. It's in Edinburgh. So there's a bunch of us once a month. Obviously, we've not been there since March last year. We basically meet up once a month in this old church. Quite authentic, considering it's Games Master. We meet up in this church and we take along a machine and we just basically play games for a couple of hours. And it's great because for these 2-3 hours, my mind just becomes, I'm like 16 years old. We're talking about computer games and you're watching your mate playing a game, and it's fantastic. And one of my mates said to me about, do you watch YouTube? And I went, well, kind of. I know what it is. Oh, you need to watch Steve Benway. And I went, oh, who's that? He says, oh, it's this guy. He's got all these systems. And I went, what do you mean watch him? He says, oh, he's got a channel. I'm like, okay. So I went home and I created I didn't even have an account at that point. You just went into YouTube and watched games. So I created an account and I did a search, Steve Benway, and up he popped, and started watching his channel. And here was like a guy just like me, similar background, and he was talking about all the things that I could relate to. And that became my sort of like my viewing. And I used to love his Friday talkies. Every Friday, I would look forward to kind of getting home at night and go for a bath, and I would sit and watch the Friday talkie on my phone, and brilliant. And then I never for one second thought about doing YouTube. And then it was this one day I was sitting in my wee games room. I mean, I've moved house since then. I had a much smaller games room, and I was sitting in there one day, and I thought, you know what, there's nothing I want to play. I don't know, I just kind of lost my mojo, and I thought, oh, I wonder why don't I record myself playing a game? I'll play a terrible game, and I'll upload it. So I called it the Mamemeister 10-minute mashup, and I recorded Sewer Shark on the Mega CD.
Yeah. Oh, you froze.
The Sewer Shark. I recorded that for 10 minutes, and then I put the video up, and it was just basically me. I mean, it was pointing my mobile phone at the screen, and I was talking, and I made a video every single day, and then lo and behold, a subscriber. What is that? It says one. Oh, and I didn't really know what it was, and then suddenly I got this comment. It was somebody talking to me. I'm like, okay, love your channel. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I became aware of what there was actually. I think I got 5 subscribers. I thought, there's actually 5 people that are going to want to watch what I'm doing. It was just ridiculous. And then I got to, I think about 2 months in, I'd put up my latest Mamemeister mashup thing, and it'd been up for about 3 or 4 days, and I went and clicked in it, and it had like 2 views, and I thought, why? What am I wasting my time for? Why am I doing this? Why am I going to the length of recording this thing, putting onto YouTube when nobody's interested? So because there was a couple of people who were kind of talking to me, I put out a video. I think it's still up on my channel saying, I've just decided I think I'm going to knock the channel on the head because it's not worth it. Nobody's watching it. But thanks very much to my 2 subscribers. And then this one guy, I'm going to name him Brian because he still watches my channel. He said, "Oh, I love your channel." And that just gave me like, wow, somebody actually enjoys what I'm doing. So I kept it going, and that was 2013. Here we are, 2021. Years later, I'm still at it.
He's still relevant and still recording your videos and swearing at the screen.
Yes, just a bit more now.
But that's what it's all about, isn't it? I think when you do it just for the fun of it, and people, even if you've only got 1 or 2 viewers, somebody somewhere is enjoying what you're putting out. So,
I mean, that is the thing for me. I mean, I do monetize my channel, and I took that choice about 2 years ago, and I thought, well, because people had said to me, "Oh, do Patreon." Now, personally, Patreon isn't a thing that I'm interested in. You think to yourself, why don't you want free money? For me personally, I'm not comfortable somebody giving me money. I'm just not comfortable with that. I mean, I've been given money in the past, and I've just given it straight to charity because it's not something I want to do. I'm not comfortable taking money for it. Like I do monetize the channel. What were we talking about there? I've completely forgotten my train of thought there.
No, just
what was it?
If 1 or 2 people are watching it, it's worthwhile.
Yes. Yeah. And for me, I mean, I've had a few comments over the years where, I mean, even a couple recently, people have said, like yourself, Dave, you'll probably have times where, I mean, I don't know how long you've been doing YouTube for. You will get times where real life takes over. You've maybe got some problems going on in your life, and at that point, you're like, it's not even so much you don't have time to do YouTube. You just don't have the enthusiasm. You've got to be, the minute I put this cap on, I become Mamemeister. It's like a character sort of thing. But you've got to be in the right frame of mind. You've got to want to do it. And 99% of the time, I do want to do it. But there's always times where you don't. But just a few people have maybe made a wee comment and said to me, keep up the great channel. Your videos have got me through quite a dark period in my life, or, especially the last 12 months. I really look forward to it. But, the Friday waffles become a bit of a tradition. Me and the wife will sit and have our breakfast, and you'll be on in the telly in the living room. that just blows my mind. It's mental.
It is that though, isn't it? That especially in the last 12 months, because you touched on it. You just said about my channel. I've had my channel since about 2010, I think it was, but I did a few pickup videos up to 2012, but then I just stopped because work got in the way, family got in the way, life got in the way, and I didn't have the time to do it, so I stopped doing it, and that's why there's a big gap on my channel. But then because of what's happening now with the COVID and being locked down, I just thought, might record a few videos, and then I got into it, and then, like you say, the flow comes back. But if you're not enjoying it, I think it becomes a chore more so than the fun aspect.
I've always maintained the minute I stop enjoying doing them, then I'm just going to stop. I mean, I have on occasions maybe taken, maybe a couple of weeks away, but I think that's probably the long. I mean, I do enjoy doing it, you know what I mean. But I mean, probably my output now is less than it used to be. I've probably got more time now, but I don't know. I just think there's other things I want to do with my time as well. But I do enjoy still putting out content. It's especially the last year. It's been like you and I are sitting chatting here at the moment. You know, if we weren't chatting here, I'd be sitting downstairs watching some crap on Netflix, whatever. And it's great that you can just engage with other fellow like-minded people and just have a chat and have a bit of a laugh. You know, it's brilliant.
Yeah, and not have to explain what you're talking about because the other person's got a bit. They don't look at you like you've got four heads. If I said to some people I know, my friend has got a Vectrex, he'd be like, "What? Is that a car? Is that like a Vectrex?" So it is good to chat. Where did the name Mamemeister come from? Was it just something you came up with, or did it mean something to you?
Mamemeister came about. I think it was 1997. I had just got the internet. I had just moved into my own wee flat. And at that point, you had to run the wire down the stairs and into the back of the computer and get out your AOL disk and get it going. But I got the internet, and what was it? It was Jeff Minter. I don't know if you're familiar with Jeff Minter.
Yeah,
big C64 man. I loved all his games, and I think it was Yahoo. I just typed in Jeff Minter, and it came up. Lamasoft, Yak Yak. Oh, what's that? Forum. What's that? No. I'll try and it said you must join it. Register. So name Alan Stewart. Something like. No, in fact, no. What was it again? I can't. There's something. It might not be that one, but anyway, there's something that asked me for my name, and I put in Alan Stewart. Oh, you can't use that. It's been taken. Alan. No. I thought, right, okay, I need to come up with something stupid. Now, just literally weeks before, my mate knew how much I loved. I mean, that's the thing. I'm trying to think. I mean, I still, although before, I mean, my interest in sort of like retro, which I hate that term, but anyway, it grew when I got the internet. But I'd always maintained. I remember having the Amiga and then buying like a C64 emulator. So my mate knew that I still liked all the arcade games. And he phoned me this one day, and he says, "Oh, I've got this. You'll never guess what I've got." I went, "What is it?" He says, "I've got floppy disks that's got arcade machines in it." And I'm like, "How is that possible?" And he says, "Oh, when you put this in, it runs the arcade machines." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, he says, "Oh, I've got Asteroids, Space Invaders, and Galaxian." I'm like, "Oh, can you come up? Can I come down and get them?" No, you'll need to wait. And I think so. He came up to the house a couple of days later and gave me this disc, floppy disk, put it in, and it was like boot into DOS, and it was like MAME Galaxian, and then suddenly up pops the kind of the grid with all the characters, and I'm like, and then suddenly what? I'm like, my jaw hit the floor. I'm like, this is Galaxian. This is this is a game that I used to drool over as a kid, and it's running on my PC in my bedroom. And so anyway, so that's called MAME, Multiple Arcade Machine Emulator.
Yeah.
So I loved that. So anyway, fast forward back to the internet. I thought MAME, and then my mate who had given me the disc, he was the guy that got the PC with Doom in it. He was massively into Doom, and there's when you kill somebody, it's called a frag, and he called himself like the Fragmeister, just joking. Oh, I am the Fragmeister, and I thought MAME. I thought Mamemeister, and that was it. Mamemeister, boom. And now if you put the rest is history. I was gutted. I went to some forum about 6 months ago, and somebody else has called himself Mamemeister. I'm like, how dare you?
Copyright.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you Google Mamemeister, you'll get a lot of hits, I think 99.99999 is me, because nobody's going to come up with such a kind of stupid name as that. But it's just stuck. I mean, I use that for, bank accounts and you name it. Mamemeister.
So
why not? You know what I mean?
If I go into HSBC and say my Mamemeister sent me, they'll give me some money, will they?
They'll tell you to get out and do one. Eh?
It's interesting again, though, like you say, because I know what you mean. When you try and put your name in, or you put something in and it's a common name, like mine's David, there's no way you're going to be able to use that as a... So I literally now try and think of the most ridiculous name, because I know it's not going to come up with... I don't want to be called David 1647932 or whatever. So it's funny you say that. So, do you still? Oh yeah, you sort of touched on it. I gather you don't. Do you play current systems, or have you got a current system?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a PlayStation. No, obviously nobody has a PlayStation 5. I'm not really interested in getting one, but yeah, I mean, I've got a PlayStation 4. I've got an Xbox One, and then I've got all the ones back the way. I have got them all. I don't know what it is. I don't have any real interest in modern games. I just think they're all very, very samey. I tend to think that there's not any real skill involved. I mean, there's a video. I don't know if you ever, followed Amiga Power magazine back in the day. There's a fellow Scotsman, Stuart Campbell, he calls himself the Reverend. He lives, he used to live. He used to go to school with my mate. He lives kind of sort of 10 minutes away from where I live now. I mean, I think he lives down south. But anyway, he had this really good YouTube channel, a really good channel. He was a best journalist, bar none, even better than Julian Rignall. I know that'll get a few thumb downs, but anyway. But he was he was talking about how non-skillful you have to be to play games nowadays. And what he did was, I think it was at Sonic Adventure or something on the Xbox, I think it was, he said that he sellotaped the joypad in the up position, and then he put sellotape on the button that was jumping, and it said he got to something like level 4, and he's just sitting like that, and it's just die, restart, oh, level 2, die, restart, get to level 3, die, restart. There's no... I mean, here's the thing, anybody that argues differently, would you ever go into your work and say, oh, guess what, I completed Call of Duty Battlefield 6 last night? Like, and?
Yeah.
Whereas if you put 1 million points in Galaxian, you would be boasting. I would be putting it all over Facebook.
Yeah.
So yeah, modern games now. I think the thing as well is as we shuffle towards the great arcade in the sky, the time that we have got left is getting that wee bit smaller now, and I'm quite sort of pernickety about what I spend my time doing. And I don't want to sit and play. I mean, I've got mates that have completed games like what do you call it? Is it Mass Effect? And it's like 80 hours, and then he's actually played it 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, really? So I kind of, although I've got all these systems, and I mean I've played a few. I mean, there's games like Last of Us, which I think is phenomenal, but I would much rather fire up a game of Galaxian or a game of Robotron or Berserk and get a high score or whatever, So I do like it, but I think my love for the modern systems is starting to ebb away. Will I get a PlayStation 5? Maybe if it comes down to £100 in 3-4 years' time, but I don't have that love for it. My love is purely, well, it's not purely, it's mainly the older systems.
Yeah.
Pick up and play games that you don't. I mean, when would it be? It was maybe about a month ago. I was going to show my girlfriend a game in the Xbox. I think it was Forza Horizon 4. The only reason I bought it was because you can drive about Edinburgh. So get that. And I went to put it on, and it was like a 5 gig update. I was like, this is going to take 2 hours. I thought, no, you put an arcade game on, you switch a C64 game on, and boof, the game's there. You know what I mean? It's pick up and play.
It's funny you say that, because I was talking to somebody on Twitch today, watching them stream, and we were laughing that who'd have thought that in 1985 it would take longer to load a game today than a Spectrum with the updates, because they take 10 minutes and it takes about 2 hours to update it.
And none of this. I mean, there's a whole thing about digitals and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I suppose when you think about it, like Sony never imagined, or Commodore would never, not that they're a thing anymore, but Commodore, when they brought out the Amiga, the C64, they never considered that 30 years later people would be still playing these machines, because they're antiques. And it's the same with arcade games. I mean, arcade games were manufactured to make money, and when they weren't making money, they would they would just throw it in the scrap heap and bring out another game. And now there's still people playing the original games. So they were never designed to have that longevity.
Yeah, it's. I don't think they ever imagined, and even now, especially some people, the gaming industry to go the way it has. It's bigger than music and television and movies and all that.
Apparently it is, yeah.
In the 80s, I don't think Commodore ever. They knew it was going to be big, but I don't think they knew it was going to be as big as it was.
No, I mean, you talk to. You watch any of the videos. I've been very lucky. I've spoke to Gary Bracey a couple of times on my channel. Gary was one of the sort of founders of Ocean, and they were just making up as they went along. This was, as you touched on at the very beginning. It was a cottage industry. There was no rules. I mean, I was down at Blackpool. I was lucky enough to be doing the panel thing with Andrew Hewson and his son. Is it Rob? I think it is. And there was another guy, I can't remember his name, but and they were saying they go to these games, and they would go along to these computer fairs with like a wallpaper table thing, and they would just put all these cassettes out, and they were all like £5, and they were like, oh, there you go, and says they'd go home and all these a big bag of £5 notes. Wow, Yeah. And then suddenly people realise, wait a minute, they can make money out of this, and it just started kind of building up momentum.
It's funny you mentioned it, because like the likes of Ocean, you have so many memories, and you can visualize the box art from most of the Ocean games, and the Ocean packs. And nowadays, it's sort of, you don't even look at how many people look at the cover art of a game. I bet it's 0.5% probably.
Is there a cover art of a game? Yeah, I mean, I think the most, the most minimalistic is a digital download. It's not even there. It's just up in the cloud, and it's on the menu of your console. But I bought I'll tell you what, one current machine which I do absolutely adore is the Switch. It is a fantastic machine. See, for retro gamers, I mean, it's got the best version of Virtua Racing, best version of Outrun. There's so many options, and being able to play it on like 60 frames a second on a big TV, and it's a beautiful thing. But you get the little cartridge, and you open it up, and it's just this little cartridge. That's it. There's nothing. There's no instructions. Zippo, nothing.
Yeah,
Nado,
there,
nothing.
It's definitely gone minimalistic over the years. That's all I can say. But I think that's taken away part of the excitement, though, because we used to go and look on the back of the games, and even though 99% of the time the screenshot was probably of an Amiga or an Atari ST, and you had a Spectrum, so it's totally different. But
they always had that disclaimer: other versions may differ. You did. You're not kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the best. I'm not going to bore you and go and get it. But I mean, I bought it recently on eBay again. Was what do you call it? Elite for the C64. You've got the big box. You've got the novella. You've got the big instruction booklet. You've got the overlay. You've got a poster. You got all this stuff, and you could just, driving, going home in the bus after picking up a game, you would be looking at the instructions and reading it and all that. And now you just, It's more it's like fast food now. We live in a kind of disposable society, and I don't think I don't think it's a shame, but my daughter, I've got a 17-year-old daughter, she will never have the nostalgia for games that I've got. And as you say, I mean, it's hard to kind of describe just what it felt like seeing like Space Invaders for the first time, because before TVs were just a passive thing. You just looked at it and things went on in front of you, and then suddenly you had this TV screen, and moving this stick moved this thing on the screen, and the fact that you could interact, it was incredible. And then you had the excitement. I mean, going from the Texas to the C64, and then going to the ST, then the Amiga, then the PC, and then over the years, I mean, I bought. Oh, pardon me. When I got the PlayStation 4 about, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, it came from Amazon, and it sat unopened for about a week. I was so kind of like uninterested. Like, oh, I suppose I better open it up. Oh, right, okay, yeah. Wasn't interested.
Yeah, yeah. It's that excitement's gone. I suppose it's because we're adults as well, and you're more excited as children, but. You're right what you say. You don't realise how much has changed, because my daughter's 17 as well, and she can't imagine a time without the internet. And that to me is just, I can't get my head around that. You know what I mean?
Aye. Well, you think about, I mean, back in 1988, me and my mates, we always thought that we're like the next, what you call it, Monty Python. We would kind of want to do things, and we thought, why don't we hire a video camera? And I think we paid something like 200 quid to hire this video camera for a couple of days, and we made all these little kind of sketches. And now look at us, you and I are sitting talking on screen, and I could just make a video using that thing and upload it onto YouTube, and it's just there. I mean, the very, very first time you got to see yourself, I remember when I first got a digitizer, I couldn't wait to digitize my face, and then kind of like put a moustache and a beard and just basically mess about with this image. And now you've got it all on your phone, and it's just, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing now.
And it looks realistic now, whereas before it would probably pixelated, like drawn on. But yeah, bless you. Well, can I just say thank you very much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you too, Dave. Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. It's nice to be this side of the camera for a change, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.